Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home.
Hey there, Tricia Nelson here. I am founder of Heal Your Hunger. I'm an emotional eating expert, and I love to help people overcome their compulsive and obsessive behaviors with food. I was 50 pounds overweight, and this is what I had to do in order to lose weight and keep it off. No more diets, no more crazy exercise programs, just facing the underlying causes of why I was compelled to overeat. And if you're wondering what emotional eating is, because I use that term a lot, it's eating to numb feelings. And it's not something we do consciously, typically. We don't think, I'm going to get some chocolate and bury my emotions right now. No, we don't think like that. We just think, I want chocolate. But my experience is the more aware you become of your emotions and the motivations behind your eating, the more you will see that the need to escape uncomfortable feelings is often at the root of your reaching for food. You're checking the refrigerator. You're stopping at the store on your way home, the 7-Eleven, to pick up some chips. So I want to talk to you about 3 of the triggers for emotional eating that you might not have thought of before. People think of eating Ben and Jerry's after a breakup as a typical example of emotional eating. But my experience is there are other reasons why we reach for food when we're not even hungry, when we're just looking to check out. So I'm going to give you 3 motivations for emotional eating that you may not have thought of. The first is getting angry. My experience is that as emotional eaters, we don't like to feel angry. We don't like to come off as angry. So we spend our lives with a big smile on our face and walking around saying, we're fine, everything's fine. Well, you know what FINE stands for? Effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So if you're saying you're fine all the time, now you know what that really means. So the fact is, we're not fine all the time, and we're not always happy. In fact, as emotional eaters who are trying to hide our emotions, trying to act like everything's fine, we are burying feelings of anger. And anger is a troubling emotion for us because it doesn't mesh with our image of being likable, agreeable, but also because it's a strong feeling. And as emotional eaters, we typically want to stay away from anything that's a strong, uncomfortable, negative emotion. That's what drives our eating so much of the time. Do you relate to this? Well, the fact is we have to make peace with our emotions, all of our emotions. Anger, sadness, happiness, frustration, feelings of powerlessness, vulnerability. Yeah, we're not only emotional eaters, we're human. But somehow along the line, we thought that we weren't supposed to feel certain feelings. And I want to say that anger is a normal emotion. It's usually a secondary emotion because it comes from fear. Have you ever noticed that when you get afraid about something, your immediate reaction is to get angry? It feels a little bit more protective to feel angry than it does to feel fearful. Fearful is a very vulnerable emotion. But the point is, anger is a very strong emotion, and you might sometimes feel like you shouldn't feel angry, in which case you attempt to bury it. And the best way to bury your strong emotion is to eat. So anger is a big driver of emotional eating, or should I say, the attempt to bury that anger. And the fact is, anger often comes from people pleasing. If you've been agreeable and nice and fine for too long, you're going to blow, right? You're saying everything's fine, I'm happy to help. Just give the load of work to me, I'll do it, no problem. And at some point, you've had it up to here and you absolutely blow, okay? You blow, you get angry, you bite somebody's head off. Again, that is what burying your anger will do. So we got to address the people pleasing. We have to get more honest about how we really feel about things and express that honestly and directly before we blow. And we have to accept that as humans, we have an entire array of emotions, and no emotion is good or bad. but what we do with it is good or bad. So feel the feelings, walk through them, deal with them in an appropriate way, maybe write about the angry feelings or talk about the angry feelings, pray about it, but eating is not your solution. Okay, the second driver of emotional eating can be getting too tired, and that comes often from staying up too late. My experience of over 35 years of working with emotional eaters is that we tend to push ourselves and we tend to stay up too late. We don't go to bed at an appropriate hour. What's that about? Well, oftentimes we just want to settle down. We want to unwind, and we do it by sitting in front of the TV and eating. And then one thing leads to another, one show leads to another show, and before you know it, it's midnight or 1 a.m., and then we kind of pass out in bed after a binge. We wake up tired and groggy, and then we do it all over again, right? The next night we're staying up late. So it's really important that we start treating ourselves with more care, putting ourselves to bed, putting a limit on how much TV we watch, or do something that relieves stress that isn't watching TV and eating, something like talking to your spouse or playing a board game, something that can relieve stress but not take you down the rabbit hole of staying up too late and unconsciously eating. Now, the third thing that drives emotional eating, something you might never have thought of, but is so tough for us, is feeling fat. That's right, feeling fat causes emotional eating. And if you're someone who has struggled with food and weight, you know that feeling, right? When you just don't feel good in your clothes, your pants are too tight, you feel swollen, you feel bloated. It's a terrible feeling. You feel fat. And this could be regardless of your size. Like you could be thin and still feel fat, but that feeling of gaining weight, of being bloated, can often make us feel so uncomfortable that we go eat. Isn't that crazy? We literally eat because we feel like we've gained weight. That doesn't make sense, but it's what we do. And so you got to watch that feeling. When you have that feeling of, I don't feel good, I'm gaining weight, I feel bloated, there are more constructive things you can do. First of all, take a look. Are there foods you're eating that are literally bloating you? Sugar, carbs, perhaps something that doesn't agree with you, something that gives you gas. If there's something that's making you feel fat or making you gain weight or making you be bloated, you got to address that and change your diet. But sometimes it's just a feeling. And just like all the other feelings that we tend to want to escape from, you got to address it and move through it. So the feeling of not being comfortable in your body is just that. It's a feeling. And the truth is, you don't have to bury that feeling with food. You can acknowledge it. You don't feel so hot. You can go for a walk. You can do something constructive. But don't beat yourself up about it with exercise. And also, don't beat yourself up with food. Move through it. It's just a feeling. It will pass. Get some rest. Take care of yourself. Eat nutritious meals. And the feeling passes. But eating over the feeling of feeling bloated and fat, no bueno. So to summarize, these are 3 drivers of emotional eating that you may not have thought of. The first one is getting angry, very strong emotion. The second one is staying up too late, not good for you. And the third is just having a strong feeling of feeling fat, bloated, and really out of control. Isn't that really what drives our eating, is when we just don't feel in control of our bodies? I want to help you feel more in control. Like, subscribe, and check out more content here. I can't wait to support you.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.